On behalf of the Highland Park Public Library, I'd like to welcome you to Library in Your Living Room. I'm Susan, and today I'm going to show you how to touch up photographs using the free online photo editor, Pixlr.com. To start with, we're going to remove this birthmark from this girl's face. You want to use the Heal tool, which is this Band-Aid, and you want to have your tool be a little bit bigger than the spot you're trying to remove. So that looks pretty good. If I zoom in, you can see it's covering at the spot, but it has a little bit of the skin also covered. You want a little bit of the good skin tone in your tool so that it knows what it's blending. We're going to have it set for patch, and all we have to do is go over it and click once. And there. She no longer has a birthmark on her face. This one is more difficult. She has a lot more marks, and there are different sizes, and some are very red. I'll show you how it works. It does not work as well as some of the more sophisticated tools that you can use on the paid versions of photo editors, but it will do a decent job. So let's go back to the Heal tool, and we'll start with this little piece of acne up on her forehead. And we'll just click it, and it goes away. But you see, this bigger one is going to be harder. I'm going to make the tool bigger, get it so that it surrounds most of the area, and then I'll click on it. There. You'll see it did take the patch away, but in order to do it, it left a rather obvious round circle of patched material. So it will do it to a degree, but it's not as unnoticeable as some other programs. If I zoom out, you'll see that there are definite patches on the bigger areas. Now let's work on a damaged photo. As you can see here, I've got a nice picture of a mother and daughter, which unfortunately has been folded and has these cracks along it, as well as a hair that got scanned. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on the mother's face. If you look over on the right, you've got a little navigation thing, and the red is what you're seeing. So if I move the box over, I can get the mom nicely in there. Let's try to repair this giant crack through her face. You would use the Heal tool, so we'll click on that Band-Aid, and instead of using patch, this time we're going to use infill. And we want to get our tool to be relatively small. So let's see if it'll play along. There we go. Sometimes the tool, the infill tool, does not like to resize itself. So let's start with this one that sort of runs down her face. What you want to do is you want to trace along the crack with your infill tool, highlighting the problem. You want to make your moves be relatively small because whenever you use the infill tool, it picks up the color around it. So anytime you come to a color change, it will grab some of the color nearby. So when I hit this spot, it grabbed that crack color. So I'm going to click on Edit and Undo. And we're going to try again, and I'm going to show you just doing a much smaller move. It filled it in quite nicely. We'll do a little bit here. And again, it did pick up some of that big crack. Let's try to get that crack out of the way. And then let's try to put that color back in. There we go. See, it picked up the color much better that time. We're going to want to watch a little bit here by her mouth because we don't want to lose that little detail there. So we're just going to do little dots. and bring it down. And again, by her lips, we want to be sure that we do just little dots to try and catch all those color changes. That one I didn't do very well. I should have made the tool a little bit smaller in that lip area. So let's bring it down a little bit smaller and try again. That's better. We'll fix up that. Now let's see if we can't get rid of this one. You can always run over a spot a couple times until you get the color that you like. We can't fix her eyebrow a little bit. There we go. Now we're going to just go in here and try and get this fixed up a little bit by her face. So there we have it. You can still see, if I zoom out, you can still see the crack running through her face. So what I like to do after I've done the initial repair is to grab the blur tool and just give it a little brush with the blur tool. That will soften the color changes that you put in so that it isn't as abrupt. There we go. We've cleaned her up. You can still see a little bit of that crack, but if we go out further, you can see she looks much better. Now for this area between the two of them, you'll want to use the clone tool. And you click on the source of the color. So I'll click up here. And then after that, you just paint down. And you paint over the spots that you don't like. And it will fill in that color area. I'm going to grab another source a little closer here. So it replaces it with a duplicate of whatever the source area is. So since there's a fine crazing in there, we're going to pick up the crazing in our repair. But that doesn't matter that much because it's just the background. So we'll get a little more. There we go. So I had straightened her jaw a little bit accidentally when I was doing the fix. So again, I could go into the blur, give it a little blur so that it doesn't look like I did too much work there. I'm not terribly happy with her lips here. So I'm going to do another little pass with the brush over this area and see if I can't clean her lips up a little bit. That's better. Now let's move on to the hair for the daughter. If I were to use the infill tool for the hair and brush it across this crack, it would just make a blurry smear there. So you're going to want to use the clone tool and grab an area where she has good hair, and then we're just going to patch it up with some replacement hair. And you can click back on the source and grab new sources along the way, trying to get the colors in there. It's very obvious up close what I'm doing, when I'm filling in here, you can see it looks quite obvious that I've done some cloning. But once we zoom out and we run that blur over a little bit, it's not nearly as obvious. You could use the clone tool up on the bow to get the bow repaired, and there's other cracks here. So there you have it. That's how you fix a damaged photograph. Now I kept the previous version as the background, so I'm going to just slide this over. And you can see the before and after of the woman's face, all cracked and all not cracked. Much better than the original. And the same with the girl's hair, all cracked and repaired.